that will continue to be had. What I want to share with you is that there were two things that we would like to share with you that have come out of a first result of this workshop. First, there was an overwhelmingly support from the IOC members for a pause to be done and a review of the future host election process, and we will be setting up a working group to look into this for two main reasons. Members want to be engaged more in the process. And secondly, there was a very big discussion in and around when should the next hosts be awarded. We want to use the learnings from LA and from Brisbane, as well as the French Alps, who have had a much shorter lead time, but in the case of LA and in Brisbane, a much longer lead time. So there was a lot of discussion from all of the members on when is the appropriate time to select a future host. So for these two reasons, that working group is going to be set up in the next week or so to start looking into when we should be selecting the future host and how we should be selecting the future host. Secondly, there was an overwhelmingly support, I think, not just the majority, but all of the members that were here present and those that were able to share with us before they left, that we should protect the female category. And with that, we are going to revisit the eligibility category, not revisit, that we're going to actually set up a working group made up of experts and international federations. It was agreed by the members that the IOC should take a leading role in this, and that we should be the ones to bring together bring together the international federations and ensure that we find consensus. We understand that there will be differences depending on the sports, but it was fully agreed that as members and as the IOC, we should make the effort to place emphasis on the protection of the female category, and that we should ensure that this is done in consensus with all the stakeholders. So with that, that was really a very quick update, because there were so many things mentioned and so many, I believe, exciting discussions that were had that will lead to many more things in the coming weeks. But that's a good starting point for now.
Thank you very much, President. Okay, we have nearly 60 people online, so we're going to try and rattle through these as quickly as we can. Let us start with Graham Dunbar from Associated Press. Graham, you have the first question, please, to the President. Well, that's a good start. Still, Graham. There you are. We can see you, Graham. Yeah, hear you. Off you.
Thank you very much.
We got there.
Took a minute to get through there. Thank you very much. Okay. Congratulations again to the new president. I hope we'll be seeing lots of you over the next 8 years, and good luck. On a quick one. You've been very clear from the start. You're not going to compromise on Olympic values. You will stand up for that. These obviously include things like gender parity and inclusion, which are under attack more broadly in the US, and where the president has said Los Angeles is a trash heap. What is your current thinking about how you would like to protect the Los Angeles Games and the values surrounding it, underpinning it?
Thanks, Graham. Thank you firstly for the first nice few comments there, and definitely we'll be seeing more of each other. When it comes to LA 28, again, as I said before, we had a report from the organizing committee, and there is so much goodwill from all levels of government, from the state to the federal. There is an incredible willingness to see that the Olympic Games are a huge success. So the reason I mention that is because that gives us faith as the Olympic movement that that platform will be there for us to ensure that our values are stuck to, but that our values will also be heard and that we will be able to ensure successful games for our athletes, and not just our athletes, but for athletes around the world that are so looking forward to the success of the LA 2028 games. We have all heard how LA 84 games was a huge pinnacle in our Olympic history, and so many athletes are looking forward to it. So again, it's our duty to ensure that we work towards that. And as of right now, we see that full commitment coming across the board. And as the COO, Reinhold shared with us yesterday, there is unity of effort, as he put it. I'm looking in my notes, and that again was very reassuring for us, and we will continue to work towards that as a unified model in our different stakeholder roles.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you. Let's go to over to Salt Lake City. I think it's Lisa Roche from Deseret News. Welcome, Lisa.
I think there's maybe
a bit of a time.
Mark.
There we go. Yeah, we see you. Off
Mark,
you go.
yes, a little slow, right? First of all, congratulations, Kirsty. And I know that in Utah, we're very much looking forward to you making your first visit here. I'm wondering if you have any sense of when that might be, and also what message you have for Utah as a second-time host. But it's a little far off in the future, right?
Yeah.
The focus of your meetings were on the two upcoming games, obviously. What would you tell Utahns about being a host, given that they have a ways to go before that happens? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. We're looking at all the next few months leading into next year, trying to ensure that we visit all of our main stakeholders, including those of upcoming Olympic City hosts. For Utah, as you said, it'll be the second time hosting, and there's a lot of excitement. Again, this comes back to the discussion that we as members had the last few days of how long a lead-up time should there be in delivery, and what does that look like? And when there is a long lead-up time, what is our role, and how can we support those cities to keep the engagement? As chair or former chair of the Brisbane 2032 Games, this was something that we consistently asked ourselves, and the chairman of Brisbane 2032 and I, Andrew, had a lot of conversations about how to keep the engagement, how to keep the excitement, what does it look like? And I think really my best advice to Utahrians is just that the games are coming, and really I think it's really more about just creating that local community engagement, because at the end of the day, if the communities can strengthen, the local clubs can work towards that, and having local athletes getting excited, then there's really not too much more that we can do in these next few years, but just create the momentum that can be leveraged from the local communities and the engagement that you can see from the local clubs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, we're going to go to Xinhua now, Chinese news agency. Yeti, I think you might be in Geneva, but question away, please. Yeti from Xinhua News. Yeah. Seem to be taking a little bit of time. We're connecting shortly with you. Bear with us. We're still on Lisa at the moment. Bear with us, President.
Sorry.
Normally quicker than this. There we go. Hello. Yeah, you're in Geneva, I think. Please
Thank you.
far away.
No, I'm in Beijing now.
Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much. Hi, Mr. President. This is Xie from China Xinhua News Agency. First, congratulations on becoming the 10th president of the IOC. I'm very much looking forward to interview you in China. And I have two questions, small question. One, do you want to plan to visit China, and what do you want to say to your Chinese Olympic fans? And my second question is, can you please share with us some specific inspiring ideas from the members during the discussions of Pause and Reflect? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the questions. And we will be visiting in November. We'll be visiting China in November. The dates are still being finalized, but will be around the national games. So we're very excited about that. And to all the Chinese fans, thank you very much for tuning in live on the 23rd on the official handover. We really appreciate that. We heard that there were a number of people watching, and so the excitement and appetite for the games in China is always strong, and we thank you for that commitment. In terms of the members' engagement, there were so many incredible ideas that were shared. The next steps, which is maybe something to share with you all, is that we will now take all of those good ideas and really have deeper conversations with the members, with the stakeholders, and expand all of those conversations to ensure that we are being collaborative across the entire Olympic family. I think it would be too premature for me to share some of the outcomes, because there needs to be more in-depth conversations. We really just touched the surface. I think the members felt that we could have probably spent a week together to really come out with stronger recommendations. And really the priority was recognizing and giving acknowledgement to what the opportunities were and what the potential challenges were. And those were all very high level. So now we need to take it a step further and dive a little bit deeper, which is a process that we will be doing over the next few months.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go to the Indian Express next, to Mihir Vasavda. Mihir, your question next, please, to the IOC president.
Hi.
Please go ahead.
Great. Congratulations, Mr. President. You mentioned the pause on the future host selections. Can you please explain what happens next? Will the ongoing conversations be halted altogether? I believe there is an Indian delegation planning to visit next week. So will the meeting be there, or they'll just be there and come back?
Hi, nice to see you again. No, we want all interested parties to be a part of this pause and reflect and of this review. I'm aware of the delegation coming next week, so that will continue. And actually, they might be our first interested party for us to ask a couple questions and to better understand from them. As I mentioned, from the membership, it was very much of the opinion that we need to ensure we, one, have more membership engagement, and two, secondly, look at the timing. When is the most appropriate time? When is the best time? When is the most effective time, I think is the correct way of saying it. What is the most effective way where we're not going to overburden any of the stakeholders or the OCOGs, and what does that look like? And we want all interested parties, all organizing committees that we have in the lead up, so that's inclusive of LA. We need to see Milano Cortina. We need to have more dialogue with the French Alps who have a much shorter lead time. So what are the learnings that we can take from them right now? What are the learnings we can take from LA and from Brisbane, who were much longer lead time? But the future host interested parties will all be a part of this engagement. So there is not going to be a specific pause on that, but just on the entire process, and everyone will be engaged to still be able to give their input on what it should be leading forward.
Thank you, Mihir. Okay,
welcome.
We're going to go to Joe Donahue now from Bird's Nest Media, and I think it seems to be quite a pause on this system, talking of pauses, so I'm sorry about that, but we will get to you, Joe, as quickly as we can. Not quite sure why we're so slow today.
Mark, hey, thank you so much for the time.
Please go ahead.
Alrighty. And first off, again, President Coventry, thank you so much and congratulations. You've been in this transitionary role for the last few months. As you now sit at the start of your presidency officially, was there anything that you learned from your predecessor, from President Bach, that surprised you? And what did you learn over these months that excited you about starting in this role?
Thank you, Joe. I thought you were going to ask me what I learned, and I was about to ask you, how much time do you have? I think in terms of the first question, anything that surprised me, I really honestly couldn't say that there was one thing that really stuck out. I think it was really more the time that we took. I appreciated the time that President Bach and I spent over the last 3 months, just deep diving into all the various discussion points and the level in which there was all the background information. That really was very interesting, and I am very much appreciative of that. And yes, of course, there were numerous things that were exciting in the conversations that we had. But I think really I have to, and I'm going to keep coming back, sound like a bit of a broken record, but come back to the members' engagement that we just had on the 24th and yesterday, where we wrapped it up at the end of the half day yesterday. And just the excitement that there is around the different opportunities, but also the excitement around coming up with solutions on the challenges. That for me really showed the level of expertise that I have in the membership, and I'm extremely excited about that, being able to pull those expertise from the members and make our movement stronger. So that is really what I'm looking forward to in these next few months as we set off on this journey.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, we are now going to Ukraine. We're going to go to Konstantin Vavarik, a regular participant. Konstantin, if you're there.
Yeah,
Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity and congratulations, Ms. Coventry, on your election. The question is, how would you evaluate, did you have a chance to look back on the current individual neutral athletes criteria? Are you planning to any kind of reevaluate them? And are you ready for an official visit to Ukraine to evaluate the state of the destroyed sports infrastructure that is going right now here? Thank you.
Thank you, Konstantin. We did not, in this executive board, we did not get into any revision of neutral athletes. That was not on the agenda. It will be on the agenda in the coming months in the future executive board meetings. On your second question on visiting, as I'd said, I think to one or two of the other reporters, we're going to try and make ensure that we visit all of our stakeholders, and that will at some point include all of the NOCs around the world, all of the international federations, as well as all of our top sponsors and media rights holders. So once we know what that looks like, and that will be not done in 1 month or 2 months, but over the next few months into next year, we'll keep you posted on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go, I think, to Canada. Robert Livingston. Robert Livingston from Games Bids. I think that's where you are. Robert, please ask your question. I think you're... No, we still don't have you.
Hi.
Yep,
Hi
go
there.
ahead.
Sorry,
Thanks.
it took a little long. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, President. Just regarding the bid process, once again, how much change are you open to, and how much will things stay within the, I guess, the recent reforms that have happened? And also, what will this mean to the Swiss 2038 Winter Games bid, where there's kind of this window of opportunity for them? What can they expect?
So I think, Robert, thank you for the question. Firstly, as I had said, I think from our friend from the Indian Express, all of the interested parties are going to be a part of this consultation and this review. I think secondly, it really, the members were in agreement that the way we used to do things is not where we want to go. There's been some very good reforms to get the future host and the selection of host cities to date. But it just felt, and they felt, that we wanted to be included in the process a little bit more, and really to be able to better understand the process. If you're not sitting on the Future Host Commission, you're obviously not getting as much information, and it's such an important part of what we do. And members get asked a lot in their own home countries, what's happening, where is it going, that they want to better educate themselves. And so this is really the key points that we will be looking at in terms of the review. There's been very many steps taken to get the process to where it is, very good steps, but it's really how do we now include the members so that they can also be educated on those steps taken. And then secondly, again, it came up very strongly on when do we award the games and what does that look like. So those are really the two points that led us to taking this step forward of let's have a reflect, let's have a review of the process to really analyze when is the best time to award the games and how can we have a bit more involvement from the members.
And the Swiss bid for 2038?
As I said, with the existing bids that are all there, they're all going to be a part of the process, and no one's suddenly going to be excluded. There's not going to be any specific opportunities that might outweigh one or the other, but everyone's going to have a chance to be a part of this review process.
So that promise to Switzerland for 2038, or that open window, is that not applicable anymore?
I can pass on to Christoph, but I believe that okay. Will remains the same, is my understanding.
Yeah,
Christoph?
President, I think that that it's fair to say that although there is a general reflection, the pledge that was made to the Swiss and the Swiss authorities in particular was to be part of this privileged dialogue during which they should come up with all the relevant information, including the detailed guarantees, which, as you know, in a country like Switzerland, is fairly complicated because of the various levels of governments and the sort of developments that are needed here. So I think that although they will be part of the reflection, as far as it stands, that is the privileged dialogue, that will continue until the window of opportunity we gave them, which is towards the end of 27. So that work continues, and all the further developments will then have to be factored in when it comes to finalizing this project.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Robert. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go to Reuters now. Carlos Groman. Carlos, your question, please, to our president.
I hope you can see me and hear me.
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Hi, Carlos.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kirsty. Congratulations again for taking over. A question, if I may, on the Russian, on the neutral athletes. Is there a date by which time you would like to have a decision? I mean, we're now, what, 8 months before the Olympics. Is there a deadline you would like to see set on that matter? Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. To be very honest with you, we did not speak about it in this executive board. It was not on the timeline, but it will be, and we will be discussing it in the future. So we have an executive board in September and one a little bit further later on in the year in December. So I think in the future it would definitely be coming in the next few months to have it on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to Florida to Ed Hula. Hopefully, Ed Hula made your way back safely from the Olympic Day celebrations. That's good to see. Please go ahead with your question when we finally see you. We still haven't seen you yet.
Here we go.
Here we go. Off you go.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, Ed.
Hello. A number of members and the other candidates for IOC president continually pointed out that the members feel that they're not fully involved in all the decision making. What can you say about how to increase the involvement of members in decision making without bogging down an IOC session in a lot of debate and discussion? At the same time, the members say they'd like to be more involved and to debate and discuss issues before the IOC. Is there a happy medium?
Yep. Thanks, Ed. Well, I'm hoping if what they were telling me after the successful forum over the last 2 days was indeed correct, when you go and talk to them now, they should say, this was great, and we had the opportunity to talk and have dialect, and they want more of it. So I think what we have all agreed is that forums where the members spend a day, 2 days just together, talking, going through things, deep diving into specific topics is something that we will definitely continue doing in the future, and take the opportunities when we're all together, whether it's maybe at a session, before the session for half a day, or at an Olympic Games for half a day. There was real importance of members' engagement, and I believe that the kickoff to the presidency was done I'm hoping very successfully, because the feedback that I've received, and hopefully you will receive as a journalist and an independent person, is that members are very excited about the engagement that we just had. And my promise to them is that we will continue doing that, because it's very needed, as you said, not to bog down a session, but to really have the opportunity to discuss with each other, because we also learn from each other. We've got IF representatives, big NOCs, small NOCs, individual members, athletes, all the stakeholders are represented in the IOC membership. And so we need to take advantage of all that knowledge and have those discussions.
How many of the IOC members were taking part in the meeting this week, the Pause and Reflect meeting?
Just over 70. I believe, if my numbers are correct.
All right, thank you, and good luck. Good luck ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Good to see you safely home. Let's go to Japan, to Wakako Yuki. Wakako from Yomiuri Shimbun. Your question, please, to the IOC president. Or questions, yes, thank you very much. I've been reminded by my colleague, probably 2 questions or even 3. So please. Wakako, please go ahead.
It is taking forever. I'm sorry.
There we go. Yes, it is. There you go.
Indeed.
But I'm sure your questions won't, so go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Kirsty again. And
Hi.
It was a nice handover ceremony.
Thank
Now, allow me. President Bach, throughout his term, tried to reform the Olympic movement, tried to increase the relevance of the movement to the society. How do you envisage your own term, current term, to succeed his term? What is the characteristics that you would like to see your term's role, or after President Bach's reform term? And also, if I may, Japanese Olympic Committee just 3 hours ago elected first female president in history, several
Yes.
3 days after yours. And what is your thoughts for Hashimoto Seiko's election? She being the leader of course, Oshi Tokyo. And what is your advice to her? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the questions. And firstly, let me congratulate Hashimoto-san for her victory and for taking the leadership role of the National Olympic Committee. She did an incredible job when she joined the OCOG, and I'm really looking forward to working with her. So congratulations to her. And then on your first question, for me it is really the success, which I feel is a little premature to talk about, but I really want there to be a lot of collaboration. It was, as I had said a little bit earlier, there were so many opportunities that the members have just spoken about. And as I'd said, we also represent all of the stakeholders. So there are opportunities, there are also challenges that we're going to need to face. But the exciting part that was when we were discussing the challenges, we were already coming up with ideas and solutions. And for me, that is the strength of collaboration, the strength of being able as a team to work together to ensure that each of our strengths works against any of the weaknesses that we may have to ensure that the movement is stronger and stronger. And we have some really very clear ways, I believe, already after just a day and a half, of where we all find common ground and where we can all see those early successes taking place. There needs to be a little bit more work done in how we're going to do that and what that looks like. And I'm looking forward to, in the coming months, sharing that in more detail with all of you. But really at the core of it, it is all around the spirit of collaboration and ensuring that we keep the Olympic Games relevant, we keep our values at the heart of every decision we make, and looking forward to doing that with all of my colleagues and the Olympic family.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Sports Business Journal, Rachel Axon, back in the States, I think. Rachel, your question, please, to the...
Yes, hi. Congratulations on getting started, Kirsty. Two questions in two areas. One, to your point on the working groups around bidding and the female category, do you have any parameters for that in terms of timeline in which they expect to make recommendations that they will be making? Who might be involved in those working groups? Just what are the details on that? And then in one of the 5 areas you said was discussion on revenue. What was that discussion centering around, and what were maybe some of the ideas that you'll be considering as you think about any changes you would make there?
Thanks, Rachel. Firstly, on the timelines and the recommendations, we only just came out of the workshop. Wasn't too sure exactly with the broad scope of the discussions. I didn't want to preempt anything, so I didn't go into the workshop with any preconceived outcomes. So you need to give us a little bit of time. But with both of the working groups, we will set them up relatively quickly. I'm hoping within the next few weeks, where we will obviously, in the meantime, and as we're setting those groups up, put in place what we would, the recommendations or the guidelines that each of the working groups should be working towards. Again, I think the parameters for the future host, it was really being the 2 main points of how do we include the membership to help better educate and get the experience from the membership, and the second one being timelines and what does that look like. On the protection of the female category, it was very clear from the members that we have to protect the female category first and foremost. We have to do that to ensure fairness, but we need to do that with a scientific approach and with the inclusion of working with the international federations, whom have already done a lot of work in this in this area. So we need to bring in the experts. That will take a little bit of time. We need to bring in the international federations so that we have full buy-in to trying to come up with cohesion on this specific topic. On your second question, in and around revenue, I think it was really the sentiments that are probably spoken about for so many organizations, especially in today's world. How are we going to increase revenue? What does that look like? It wasn't just about revenue generation, but it was also about reduction of costs, because by reducing certain costs across the organization or across the Olympic family, we can also increase the money that we distribute. So those, I think, will be the two key themes as we look forward. Again, there'll be smaller work groups that'll be set up in the coming months to have more in-depth conversations and using technical expertise to help guide the conversations and look at what the possibilities could be. But again, there's a lot of really good positiveness in and around what the possibilities could be, and again, having the stakeholders engaged. So I'm looking forward to also meeting in person all of our top partners as well as our media rights holders to have more in-depth conversation with them to also better understand not just their needs and their expectations, but their brand. And how does their brand and our brand come together, and how can we strengthen both brands moving forward?
Thank you very much indeed, Rachel. Okay, let's go to Australia. Tracy Holmes, whom I think you might know, President. Tracy, your question when we...
Yep, I'm here.
Yep,
thanks very much, Mark.
Yep.
President Coventry, thank you, and good work on getting through your first executive board. That's very good. With regard to the two working groups, is there a sense that, for instance, the awarding of Brisbane 2032, 11 years out, was too long? Is that already some kind of a sense that people are feeling? With regard to protecting the women's category and the working group there, is it going to be retrospective? And I'm asking this in particular because of the challenges that were put around all of Paris. It was a bit of a shadow over the boxing. And we see this week that Umar Kremlev has again come out and made his statements about women's boxing. So I wonder if the work of that working group will be applied retrospectively in any way, depending on what their decision is.
Thanks, Tracy. I think firstly on the second one, we're not going to be doing anything retrospectively. We're going to be looking forward. And that was very, again, from the members that were here, it was what are we learning from the past and how are we going to leverage that and move that forward to the future, and how are we going to strengthen anything that we do across the movement as we move into the future. And this is really what the working group is going to look at. Your first question, LA and Brisbane were both awarded 11 years. And so I think, again, looking at the two, and LA now being 3 years out, we have had a lot of conversations with Casey and his team that we can reference and go back to, and we're already starting to do that, and then compare what they're telling us, what Brisbane is telling us, but then it's also to make reference to the French Alps, which is in 2030, and they have a much shorter lead time. So again, the feeling from the membership was really we need to really analyze this and look at it and ensure that we're not overburdening any of the Olympic movement in any way, shape, or form, but rather to find efficiencies and when is the best time to award. And we have right now with LA, with Brisbane, and with the French Alps, the ability to have those conversations with actual data and facts. And that's really going to be important for this review.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to China now. CGTN, Mandan Zhu. Your question, please. when we get to you. Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me now?
We can. Please go ahead.
Sorry, my video is not open. Just a sec, sorry. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity, Ms. Carpentry. It's good to see you again. Jumandan with China Global Television Network. And my first question is, what is your top priority to keep the Olympics relevant in this new era as we're living in a fastly changing world with climate change and shifting youth interests? And my second question is further on the youth interests. With the coming Olympics and the esports Olympics coming up, how will you further engage the young generation with the Olympic movement as esports and TikTok now dominate the youth culture? Thank you very much.
Thank you for both of those questions. I think actually your second question even helped answer the first question. When you're looking at esports and TikTok, it's a very young, youthful parts of our communities that are taking part in both TikTok and esports. And as the Olympic movement, we have recognized that we need to not just have a space in these environments, but we need to fully understand the environments, because the way in which we engage with the youth on those platforms is very different to how we would engage on a Facebook or on X or in an email or on WhatsApp. I was talking to my niece and nephew the other day, and their WhatsApps were basically LOL something something, and I had to decipher it because everything had been shortened. So again, how we communicate, I think that is at the end of the day what we as a membership need to look at and speak about, is how are we going to communicate to the younger generation? What does that look like? It's very different in today's world with the things that are popular with them. But there is a lot more understanding that we've also realized amongst the membership, because a lot of us have young children, and we can get to hear from them daily on what their expectations of us, our movement, are, and we need to leverage off of that. We know that we have to find new innovative ways, and I think this is also where we can leverage our AI and the AI agenda that was I think launched last year, if I'm not mistaken, last year. But there's a lot of really good ideas in the AI agenda on how to engage and what that looks like, and how we can do that across many different regions of the globe, because that's also really important when it comes to universality and speaking to everybody. And in terms of AI and technology, you can now adapt to take into account the cultural differences when we're communicating to all 206 National Olympic Committees and athletes around the world. So these are the platforms that I hope we're going to be, not hope, but I know that we will be implementing and we will be using to have better engagement with the younger generation as we move forward as an Olympic movement.
Thank you very much, President Coventry.
We are fast approaching the end. Going to try and get 2 or 3 more in. Lots of questions we're getting through. Let's go to the UK. Jamie Gardner from Press Association from PA. Jamie, your question, please.
Hi.
Yeah, we can see. Yeah, off you go.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the bit in the middle. Hi there. Thank you for the opportunity to ask a question, and hope you're getting settled into Lausanne well, Kirsty.
Thanks, Jamie.
I'll put the video on. I'm sure there'll be many who will welcome so quickly the move to take action in the protection of the female category. I just wanted to ask you, to what extent did you get the sense from the members that this was a decision influenced by what happened in the boxing tournament last summer? And if the working group recommends that for sex-affected sports like athletics, which has already gone down the line of cheek swabbing, is that something that you would endorse and that you think could become a consensus position for sex-affected sports?
I think firstly on the second part of the question, it's too early to preempt what the medical experts, and it was very clear from the membership that the discussion around this has to be done with scientific approaches and scientific and medical research at the core, so that we are looking at the facts and the nuances, and again the inclusion of the international federations that have done so much of this work. One of those being World Athletics, having a seat at the table to share with us how and what they can share with us when it pertains specifically to their sport, because every sport is slightly different. But it was pretty much unanimously felt that the IOC should take a leading role in bringing everyone together to try and find a broad consensus. So that really is what will be guiding the working group. Your first question, what was the first part of the question?
Was about how big an influence the boxing tournament was last summer.
Listen, I think there's always, when you're looking back in hindsight, there's so many different factors that have and play an influence. But also a lot of members shared with us their own experiences from their own countries that had nothing to do with Paris or any other specific sporting events, but just their cultural experiences that they were sharing with us, and culturally what was expected from us as an Olympic movement. And so that made it very clear that we had to do something, and this is what everyone agreed was the way forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, we have unfortunately come to our last question. I think we've got through nearly 20 of the 60 of you, so that's pretty good going. Pretty good answering, President. So we're going to go to Boria Majumdar from Rev Sports India. If you could please ask your question. Thank you.
If you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And Madam President, like everyone before, congratulations on taking over and wish you the very best. Two parts. One, you've already alluded a lot about the pause and reflect and future host countries. But just to understand from you a little better, one thing when I see the history of the Olympic movement as a historian, I see Global South still very neglected or not being integrated within the framework of the movement. So India specifically and the Global South more generally, how significant is it for you to try and integrate the Global South within the framework of the movement? And the second part, given what the world is seeing at this point in time, the trials and tribulations, every other sport is a sport, any sporting event. And the Olympic movement is perhaps the only movement which goes beyond. So how do you kind of see the role of you as a person, as the head of the Olympic family and the movement in this challenging world? Is it more relevant than ever before in the next few years under your presidency?
Thank you for both of the questions. I think as you said, when you look at the history, yes, the Global South in terms of host cities is not really represented at all. But my job, especially as the IOC president, is to ensure that the policies are in place to allow for anyone and everyone to have the ability to host the games. And this is what this process is about. And as I had said previously, the Future Hosts Committee and the processes that have been put into place now with targeted dialogue really works towards having a targeted dialogue with all interested parties, not just to help broaden the opportunities for more countries, but to have a better understanding of what it takes, what is needed to deliver the games, because that's also very important. So again, this is a part of the process. It will continue to be a part of the process to ensure, and I believe even from President Bach, when we took the reforms, part of the revised way in which we do things is to ensure that we open up for new opportunities across the globe. So that's answering the first one. The second one is, I think that sport plays an incredibly important role in today's world, and especially the Olympic Games, where we see the best of humanity. We see compassion for others. We see athletes who are sometimes fail, and a fellow athlete picks them up and helps them get across the finishing line. You see grit, you see determination, you see teamwork, all things and all messages that are not just relevant, but have to be passed to the younger generation today to remind them and to show them that it's not all doom and gloom, and that we are actually, if we can celebrate in the diversity that we are and that we have, we can really work towards creating something great.
Thank you very much, President.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. That seems like a very good place to end it. We crept over our time. I do apologise. We went to just about every region of the world. We went to many countries. So thank you very much. Those of you who we couldn't get to, I'm very sorry, but we will try to take your questions next time if we can. I'd like to also thank Christophe Duby for being here, and also obviously James McLeod for his great contribution to the press conference. Thank you, James. Thank you, President, and thank you everybody online.